They come out at times.
So you did the research. You know where to go. You know what type of businesses you're talking to. Now you have someone on the team, Ryan, and or
Killing
people that are joining the team. Let's talk about nurturing the sale. When you make that initial call, how do you introduce yourself? What do you come across as? Do you come across as Australian, Southern?
Yeah. Hey, buddy.
Hey, pal.
How you doing, pal? Yeah. No, I try to be me. It's I try to be very open. I try to ask a lot of open-ended questions to kind of understand, right? I think that initial call, initial meet is all about understanding what the guest needs and wants, and what their expectations are. I've had some people that have sent in inquiries that were, hey, I need 100 pounds of meat, and I need 15 pans of macaroni, and then you really start getting into it, and 50 of the 100 guests are toddlers, and 25 of the adults don't eat meat, and they really don't like pork, and they want chicken. So do you really need 100 pounds of meat? No. No, you probably need 5 pounds of meat. You probably need 1 pan of beans. It's so getting into it and understanding what they want, right? They may want a quote unquote full service catering in their initial aspect, but their definition of a full service catering is you coming and setting everything up in a buffet line and leaving, which I literally just did one of those. And I had to explain to them that that's not full service. That's just me dropping off and setting it up for you. Full service is us hanging out and actually serving the guests and bussing the tables and cleaning up and then breaking it all down, and then we leave once everybody's done eating. So getting to understand what they need is going to give you a better idea of being able to quote them properly. Right. What you don't want to do is you want this whole interaction from start to finish with a guest to be as easy and as streamlined as possible. Get as much information as possible to where you can quote it out. They agree, you're good, you're done, and you move forward. And
also understanding how they answer those initial questions. If you have to guide them into, coach them into what they need versus, all right, like they know what they want. They're pretty assertive. I can come up with a quote.
Well, the example I used actually happened.
Yeah.
It was a big party, and I don't remember the exact numbers, but the party was just that. They had a whole bunch of toddlers, and they wanted exuberant amount of pork, and it was like a pound of pork for each person, because they didn't realize that 1 pound would feed 3 people.
Right.
And that's like a plate. If you're doing, if you just want sandwiches, you could probably do 4 per pound. Right. So they just didn't understand that, and they didn't think about it from a poundage standpoint and how much somebody's actually going to eat.
1 pound per person.
They were just like, we got 100 people, so we need 100 pounds. And, they didn't really need that. Yeah. So, but because of that person has ordered from me multiple times. So, that's the key. Right, is understanding and asking questions, and then having all the information that you need to put together a complete package for that guest without having to call them back.
Yes. So that's one of the skills I think a lot of people need in this day and age is active listening.
active listening and ask way more questions than you can ever imagine you need to know.
Right.
Right.
Anticipate almost that they might not know what to ask you or what to.
And most people don't.
Yeah.
Most people when they have a catering order, they want to call somebody, send me some catering, set it up, and leave. I've seen the mistake of, guests not knowing that they need utensils.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you get to a catering, right? You didn't ask the question, oh, well, do you need utensils? I've done caterings where I've asked the question. Done one in November this year, a couple months ago, and said, okay, hey, here's what we got. Finalized everything, confirmed everything. Okay, so you don't need any chafing dishes. You don't need any serving utensils, and you don't need any plasticware, forks, knives, spoons, etc. Right? You have all of that. Oh yeah, I got you, Charlie. We're good. I just need the food. No problem. And then you get there, and they don't have any of it. Well, then what? Does it look bad on you? Yes. It does. Right? Because
they won't remember
whether you ask the question or not. So I always, especially smaller catering orders, always try to have extra stuff just in case.
Right.
And then you can deal with the rest of it later.
What are some elements of the brand that you hope come across in that initial call or in the follow-up call?
So every interaction we ever have with a guest, I always want the initial reaction after that call to be, damn, they really that nice?
Yes.
Like if you can get off the phone with me and question whether or not I'm actually that nice and I'm actually that genuine, then I did my job.
Yes.
Right? I made an impact.
Yeah, it doesn't matter about the barbecue at
that
point.
That's a side effect, right? At that point, we're over here. Did I leave you with a warm and fuzzy feeling? That's number one, right? Because if I can get you, I feel like if you are on the phone with somebody trying to sell them something, you're not selling them the product. You're selling them you and your service.
Right.
So do you want to work with me? You got to get past that hurdle before anything else. Because if I answer the phone and be like, what?
What?
You want some barbecue?
Yeah.
All right. And you just, and then you just sit there, right?
Yeah.
And that's not going to get where you want to go, right? And I'm exaggerating, obviously, but if you're not excited to have more business, there's a problem.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's just a problem.
Yeah.
So, and there's caterers and there's managers and there's restaurants and there's businesses out there that they're open for business, but they don't want you to come in. They don't want to have to work. Right. But for me, it's got to be the opposite. One of my favorite statements I've had since we've been open is that every time this particular guest I'm talking about comes into my restaurant, every time they come in, they feel like my servers are there because they want to be, not because they have to be. Like they want to serve the guest. Not because they have to, not because it's a job, but it's because they want to do it. And that makes me happy. That makes me feel like we are accomplishing our mission of having undeniable hospitality. When you walk into a restaurant, when you walk into a business, you can feel the negative vibe.
Yeah.
When people don't want to be there, right? They don't want to see you.
Right.
But that's why I tell my people, as soon as somebody walks in the door, we're saying hi to them. And when somebody's leaving, we're saying bye to them, right? But I don't care how busy we are, right? The hospitality comes number one. Look, we've been at a point where we're just slammed busy and unexpected sales and just not a normal trend. And it takes us a little bit longer to get over to you. And I hate it. It drives me crazy. But I mean, you can only do what you can do.
Right.
And we once we get there,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to do everything we can to make sure you're happy.
Mm-hmm.
But the getting you drinks and saying hi to you has to be immediate.
Right.
That at the end of the day is the same thing when you get off the phone with somebody.
Right.
It's got to be immediate of, oh, he's such a nice fella, or she's such a nice girl.
Yeah.
You know, that has to be just a non-negotiable. This is where we're at.
Right. Yeah. We also talked a little bit about, when we're training, the team and whatever, you can give them these videos, you can give them stuff. And sometimes people give scripts when they're selling.
Oh Lord.
So here,
Man.
Scripts or no scripts?
Yeah, no scripts.
Okay.
No scripts. Throw your scripts in the river, guys. I'll never forget. I was a young manager in the restaurant business, and I don't know if it was my GM or might have been my director of operations came in, but we were talking about how my servers were not going to the table and giving the spiel, the scripted version of their greet to our guest. And it was so bad. I mean, it was so
Like
awful.
robotic. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was, hi, my name's Charlie. I'm going to be your server today. What can we get you to drink? Would you like a Blue Moon or maybe a Bud Light? Like, I mean, it was just that bad. It was absolutely awful.
No.
Right. I mean, I would be walking through the dining room and I'd be hearing the ones that were doing it. And it would just drive my skin up a wall. I mean, just, what is wrong? Like, why can we not be human? Like, just be you. Like, say, okay, look, we're promoting Blue Moon or we're promoting Dr. Pepper or whatever. You're going to get the bologna burn-ins as an appetizer. Like, you have to mention that. You have to mention the brisket. You have to mention the dark side of the moon dessert. Like those, you have to mention those. Now go here. I gave you your tools. Now go be you.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. You want to go up to the table and say, "What's up?"
Yeah.
And go up to the table and say, "What's up?"
Yeah.
Not, "Hi, my name is Charlie.
Yeah.
I bit your finger." That's just not how we're going to do things.
Oh, boy.
But you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, God, it drives me so crazy. People want to interact with people. They don't want to interact with
robots.
a scripted verse.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not how, I don't buy things from, what's that car dealership that's all online? Cars.com, Carfax, whatever, all those things. Like, no, I'm not buying anything from you.
Yeah, right.
Like, I want an interaction.
Mm-hmm.
Call me old school.
No,
so no scripts. Don't script it. Be a real person. Have a real conversation.
You can guide them, but not script. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Give them the things that will help them, not make it worse.
Yes, I think that's great advice. We also talked a little bit about non-negotiables, and this is how you deal with people, how people deal with your people.
Yep.
Sometimes you'll come across maybe a challenging or unconventional request. How can you decide when it hits that point of that doesn't happen?
Yeah.
We're going to cut the tie.
I think it starts with the hospitality side of it on both sides of the fence, right? Do unto others as you want to do to them, or you, or however that saying goes. I always screw it up.
Do unto it. That saying, that saying. Be human.
Be a human being. It starts with hospitality.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be a person. When you start treating myself or my team like you're better than them, and we work for you, which we do, if I accept your order, then sure. Look, I mean, I'll tell a story of just a couple of days ago. We had a table leave the restaurant. because we weren't moving fast enough for them.
Ooh.
But they had 6 people, and they sat at a 3-person table. We got them drinks and menus and told them we'd be with them as soon as possible. We were on a wait. There was 3 other tables waiting to sit down. I wasn't even actually there that day. I just happened to show up. I was there earlier that morning and came back a couple hours later, and we were slammed. And so me and my wife and my kids and the all the servers and all the cooks and everybody just were running around crazy, doing everything we could to make sure everybody was taken care of. And all of the tables in the restaurant were perfectly fine and taken care of except for that one. And they left, and as they were leaving, they made some rude comments to one of my servers, and sure, I was very upset that they left to start with, and then I found out that they were rude and disrespectful to my team, and then I didn't need to serve you to begin with.
Yeah.
You're not somebody that needs to visit my restaurant.
Right.
And if you listen to this, thank you for helping the algorithm. Everybody needs a troll. So.
And does that also factor into like catering requests, like someone?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, it's all.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be just in a restaurant. It can be
Yeah.
over the phone. It can be, when we first opened, I had a lady that was very mean, rude, and disrespectful to myself, and I have since asked her to not come back, like to the point where I've told her that if she makes another comment publicly, that I'll press charges against her.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty bad. It
Yeah.
was almost every post that was made about Singletree, there was a negative comment. And yet she still came and dined in my restaurant every couple of weeks. So I just find that a little odd.
Yeah.
But
That's one of those bless your heart moments.
bless your heart. Bless your heart.
So, when we're talking about nurturing the sale, back to that, sometimes when you're doing your research, you call to people, you actually talk to the people that maybe not make the decision. So how do you train for that, or how can you, understand that in those conversations where you're building the relationship without offending the person you make the contact with?
Yeah, it's tough. You have to start off the bat, right? The first call, you get the receptionist that doesn't do anything, but she wants to know all about you. Oh, that's great.
The gatekeeper. Yeah.
Let me talk to you about this. And then before that call ends, you have to get all the information of the person that is actually making the decisions. Because after that call ends, it becomes very difficult. Which we've experienced with Ryan's learning curve, right? She has learned rather quickly that you can get someone that is just trying to get some free food, right? They just want to taste it, but they don't really have any authority to make any decisions. And then they're telling you, well, this is what we're going to do, or this is what we can do, or here's our budget, and so then you put that together, and then the actual budget is half that, and then it's like, well, we just wasted all this time trying to get. Why didn't I know that to start with? Right? I can't feed 300 people for $30. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
So getting the person that actually makes those decisions and knows what they can and cannot do is very, very important when you're in the corporate side of, and you're reaching out to people for sales.
Right.
A lot of times when people are calling you, that is the decision maker.
Yeah.
Unless it's a wedding, sometimes the in-laws have their opinions, and the bride says, no, this is what I want, and the in-laws say, but we're going to do this, right? Or the husband says, no, this is what I want, and the bride says, no, we ain't doing that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, those are fairly easily worked around. But when you're calling a car dealership and the person that answers the phone is probably not the one that's going to be making the decision on who's feeding the team, right? When you're calling a hospital, you're probably getting the security guard up front, right? You're not getting the person that is buying lunch for the entire hospital.
Right.
You don't call Nissan and get the direct person right off the bat, right? You gotta find out who that is,
right.
And a lot of times it's research and Google and friends of friends of friends and figure out who's who, and then once you get that person, then you can start moving forward.
Right. And not upsetting that person that you first talked to, because no one wants to feel like they're not valued.
That'll kill the sale.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that won't help it.
They don't want to talk to me anymore. Well, don't work with them.
Right.
So, you've nurtured the sale, you built that relationship, you got the proposal out. Now, finalizing the order. How do you get to that? How do you train for something like that? Like, you've got 20 pending orders. What can you tell someone learning how to do that?
So it's a lot about follow up. Okay, so you've gotten the initial contact, you've gotten the quote. The question comes is, did they approve the quote, or did they say, let me think about it, or I'll get back with you tomorrow. So it goes back to that last conversation and you asking those questions. But say if everything is done and they've signed off on it, you got it. Typically I like to do 2 weeks prior to the event, a confirmation call. Like we have caterings booked right now for October. It's January 23rd, right? So a lot's going to change between now and then. So you got to finalize and make sure that the quote is still legit, right? Can you still do everything that's on there? Are you still, was there a salmonella outbreak and nobody's eating chicken?
Right.
You got, 75 chicken quarters on there and you can't sell them. So 2 weeks prior, I like to, at least 2 weeks prior, that length of time, I try to check in. But so you're going to want to finalize everything that's on there, get a down payment.
And down payment only if it's over.
Yeah, 500. We do anything over 500.
Yeah.
So if it's under 500, I don't necessarily take a down payment. But if it's 500 or more, then at least 2 weeks prior, we like to take a down payment to reserve that spot.
Right.
Because it's a lot of food and a lot of expense that goes out on our side. But you're wanting to make sure all your prices are right. You want to make sure that the quantities are right. And then you want to make sure that you have all of the details that you need to know, right? Are you serving it? Are you just setting it up? Are they coming to pick it up? Or are you doing full service, setting up and breaking down? Is it just a setup and drop off? How many people do you need to work it? You got to have all those details done within 2 weeks. Then once that's done, then you can work on, okay, now we're good. It's solidified. It's done. You can get the payment for it and you're squared away.
Yeah.
Then it's setting up and ready to rock and roll when the day comes.
Yeah. It's not hard to comprehend all of those steps, but I think if you've never done catering or never built a catering department, you don't really know what to do. So
very much
this is what this is about. So
this is what we're learning.
I think on the next one we're going to talk a little bit about that follow up. You said follow up 2 weeks before, but let's say it's done. It's all done. We're going to talk about how you continue to build that relationship.
Yeah, after the order.
Yeah. We need to talk about that, but how do we get connected with you?
You can find us at singletreebbq.com. You can also go to all of the social medias and get us at Singletree BBQ. You can call us at 615-307-0120, or you can just come by the restaurant at 2805 Old Fort Parkway, and we would be happy to take care of you.